Welcome to Ibasho Stories. I'm B, and I thought it would be fun to see how things have changed for me since I started posting last year and if I thought this channel was worth making and continuing. In my Booktube newbie tag video, I mentioned that I had several reasons for starting this channel. Talk about the books I've read. This helps me remember them better at the moment and it is a great refresher in the long run. I have a small list of my favorites and least favorite books of the year coming up. My second reason was to improve my art. I've always liked art commentary channels for the art and how relaxing they can be, but the drama they usually talk about stresses me, so I thought I would combine two things I enjoy. Later on, I will show clips of my speed paints and which ones were my favorite, and if I feel I have improved in that area. If you have a favorite, you can comment about it too. My third reason was that I have a selective mutism, and an old therapist recommended I try recording myself to get used to myself speaking, so I will also talk about if this has worked at all and if I will recommend it to someone in a similar situation. I will also talk about the state of my channel, how being a part of Booktube, though marginally, has affected the way I read books, about the views on short and long form content videos I wanted to make and couldn't, and the ones I did manage to make, as well as the videos I hope to make in the future. I will also go on a small BL show tangent. This year in general has been a bit disappointing. I don't know if it's because it was mostly new releases or genre burnout, but I gave a lot of 1 and 2 stars and not that many 5s. For half the year I feared it was a course reading year, but I did manage to find a few gems in the latter half of the year. I am working on reviews for 2 of these, but don't expect them to be out yet by the time this goes up because the art pieces are time consuming. Number 1. Sorcery and Small Magics by Maiga Tusi. Hope was returned to me by seeing so many of the tropes I like be well done. This is a queer story of two guys studying magic that dislike each other greatly for good reasons, screw up big time and get stuck with each other, and have to work together to solve this problem. There is so much I want to say about this book, but to make it quick, I enjoy seeing the grumpy one get pulled into shenanigans that somehow worked out, their growth as characters, that it seemed to be an actual slow burn, and that it focused on cooperation and finding non-violent solutions to problems. Number 2. How to Summon a Fairy Godmother by Laura J. Mayo. This was an impulse pick for me. I saw the sequel was coming out and the first book was available through Libby and I borrowed it. It sounded like a fun Cinderella retelling through the eyes of the younger stepsister. The writing was funny and she was so mean. I honestly didn't expect much from it. Aside from that, I cried so hard during it. I will leave most of it for my review, but it was funny, light on romance, focused a lot on character, and was about the cycles of abuse and breaking them. It made me very emotional. The sequel was very disappointing, but I enjoyed this one greatly. Number 3. My Love Mix-Up series by Wataru Hinekure as writer, Aruko as illustrator, and Jan Cash as translator. I had this on hold at the library for over a year and it was finally my turn. I thought ahead and put volume 2 on hold at the same time, but volumes 3 and 4 were hard to come by. It's just such a silly premise. A boy borrows an eraser from a girl he likes, finds out she has her crush's name written on it as a charm to get him as her boyfriend. He drops the eraser and it gets picked up by said boy who sits in front of him, who now thinks he has a crush on him. I feel like I see these sort of fun, silly premises in stories from Latin America or some Asian countries, but not so much in the US, where it's more drama and seriousness. That's where I find it lacking. Sometimes one needs the silly fun of youth. Like if you write your crush's name 500 times in pink ink during a full moon and then eat the paper before midnight, he will propose by the end of the month. Something like that. The manga is so funny. It was honestly a joyous experience. The love interest was serious, wholesome, and respectful. I loved him. It was giving disaster by false for clueless ace. The reason I'm not reviewing this one is that I haven't finished the series because my library doesn't have them, but I found out there was a Thai drama and watched it, so I kind of settled my curiosity on what will happen next. It was fun, but the main character felt too well put together and I thought maybe it was hard to adapt the disaster vibes to live action. And then I found out that there was also a Japanese adaptation. It is shorter and only covers about half the volumes, but the lead perfectly captures the disaster vibes from the manga. So, If you're interested in reading but are also having a hard time getting a hold of the manga volumes, I recommend watching these shows. If my library ever gets the rest of the volumes, I think it will be fun to talk about them and the two adaptations. But yeah, I think these books are all from 2024 or before, so 2025 might be a cursed year for books where I'm concerned. Cause these next few were all released in 2025. Reviews for all three of these are either in progress or in a planning stage. The Floating World by Axie O. For The Floating World, I'm not sure if the review has already been posted. I ran into a lot of issues and it required tons of editing, massive amounts of rewriting because I was too angry. I have many reasons to dislike this book. The characters weren't likable, the romance was rushed and superficial, but my major problem is that it reads like canon divergent Final Fantasy VII fanfic. I'm somewhat okay with reading published fic when it is fully AU. But when something reads like canon divergent fic, I found no joy in this. And then I had health problems, and this was almost my last book ever, and that increased the bad feeling. Every time I finish an edit, I will let it cool down and then go back to edit some more because I don't want the issues I have with it to be boiled down to just being hateful. Number 2. The Library at Hellebore by Cassandra K. It was gross, unpretentious, and worst of all, boring. It was sad because it felt promising at the start. Number 3. Once a Villain by Vanessa Len. The conclusion to the Monsters trilogy about monsters that can time travel by stealing time from humans, and a half-human, half-monster girl that is in love with the hero, a monster slayer. I loved the first book. The second one was wonky, but the third just sold me to the whole thing. I hated the relationship, the characters, and the plot. It was the opposite of all that I loved in the first book, and I can't believe how disappointing it was. The first book put the series in my to buy physically list, and the third removed it. This is why I'm scared to buy Sorcery and Small Magic. What if I hate the ending and it sours me to the whole thing? I don't have money to spend on book series I don't love. I do think my art has improved a lot this year. Let me tell you, I don't practice much aside from what you see here. I do read some art books I get from Libby occasionally and do step-by-step art books with my 7-year-old niece. But aside from that, I don't do much. So I could probably be improving faster if it became a daily thing. But as it is, I'm happy with the progress I've made this year. I do believe I've gotten better at faces from when I did Mermaid to around October when I drew the Celestial Maidens, which I probably haven't posted yet. I'm aware my art isn't up to professional standards, but in comparison to myself, it's better than it was last year. Better than it's ever been, really. And that makes me so happy. One of the fun things about this project has been that it's taken me back to my fan artist days. I used to be very active, but then life happened. I still looked at art and participated in fandom in other ways, still posted fic, but I had let art go. And it was great to get back into it again. I'd forgotten how happy it made me. Another fun aspect has been that I had many firsts. Pretty much everything in the Deer Stacker piece I did for the first time. The snow, the trees, the deer with the blood and bones sticking out, and a horse in a similar style that I left in the liner stage and never made it to video. Mermaid always fills me with joy, and for a while it was the only month I would do art in fandom, so some of the stuff I did was familiar, but I do gravitate towards jellyfish and bioluminescence, so it was different since books tend to go with fish tails and scales. Boring. Anyway, with the Out of the Blue piece, I had done similar tales before, and I knew the scales were relaxing, so that was something I look forward to, and that might be why I focus on them. With the underwater rescue from In Deeper Waters, I struggled so much because it was my first time trying to do wet clothes, and the pose was more complicated than I'm used to, among other things. More on this on my BL shows tangent. I enjoy trying to imitate the art style in Una the Mermaid, which is beautiful, and how to forget when trying to figure out Sonia's pose in the rescue from When the Tides Held the Moon almost broke my brain and drove me to drinking for the first time in years. The mermaid attack from Song of the Dark was just absolute fun the whole way through. Just a bunch of feral girls. What's not to love about it? But I do think it's the first time I do more than a couple of people, and there is something stressful in that by itself. I honestly can't pick a favorite piece. I did actually enjoy pretty much everything about the course there. I like the one with the mermaid girls because I really wanted to try that art style and it was fun. And despite wanting to cry all the way through with the celestial maidens, there were things I wanted to try and all things considered it came off pretty well. What about you guys? Do you have a favorite? I really need to upload the images to Blue Sky or Tumblr or something. My least favorite has to be the Merman Rescue because I botched Atlan's face and the colors and I knew it. I knew it while I was doing it, but I was so lost as to how to fix it that the only solution was to keep moving forward and finish it and learn from it. Just commit. Commit to the trash so that future stuff won't have to be trash. But to explain a little, I used to have a watercolor brush I made with a tutorial that worked really well. But I had computer issues and had to download Clip Studio several times, and I lost the brush and forgot it was custom made and used the default watercolor brushes that I wasn't used to, and it was weird. You're free to share your least favorite piece too, I guess. I'm not going to drag this out. I've noticed an actual improvement in my voice, a lot of it. It might not be as noticeable in the channel, but I'm the one that does the editing and things have become so much easier. I think I mentioned in my newbie tag video that I recorded around 12 to 20 times. I don't know how much I admitted to, but I kept some and deleted some because I couldn't bear to hear myself. I used to spend so much time editing all of these takes together. Sometimes I had to splice them mid-word. It was a bunch of different takes and many hours of work to sound somewhat decent. Now I don't sound much better, but backstage, I only have to record one time most of the time, and on the worst one, 3 times tops. I can leave sentence fragments now. Whole phrases make it into the video without a single edit aside from the basics. Sometimes I am speaking and I can hear what went wrong and correct it. Maybe my tongue or my teeth hit my lip when it shouldn't, or my voice gave out or did something really weird, and where I couldn't hear it before, I am more aware now and able to correct it. And this is showing in real life too. My mom commented on it. Turns out since I always spoke weird, she thought it was normal for me, so she never told me how bad I sounded, but she has noticed an improvement. I did notice that when I'm too busy to practice or do exercises like talking with a pen in my mouth, my voice gets worse again, but I do think with constant talking I can get better again. The amount of pain I'm in when I talk is also greatly reduced. It's still there, but it doesn't last as long and it's not as painful. So if you have similar issues with your voice, I think it's worth trying out. I do love hearing my finished videos because I sound almost like a normal person and I've never had that. It makes me want to cry happy tears, and I do have hope that if I keep at it, there might come a time when I can sound like this without having to do as much editing. Imagine how far along I could be if I had been more constant. But seriously, a lot of the time therapy for selective mutism has been throwing spaghetti at the wall. I don't know how much it will help in the outside world, but I find a relief in knowing that in case I need my voice, at some point it will be stronger and easier to hear. So really, consider giving it a try. And if you do try it, tell me about it so we can celebrate each other's wins. One of my fears when starting this channel was that by reading more books and thinking more critically of them, I will enjoy them less. And I did find myself enjoying books less this year, but not for this reason. It's mostly the route publishing trends have taken that have me like this. The tropes that only seem to be there for marketing and not that well integrated into the story, or done so superficially that I wonder why they're even there if the author feels uninterested in them. Could be that I need to branch out, but this is what my library picks up and thus what is available to me. I have picked up more non-fiction as a bit of a palate cleanser, so I'm finding ways to deal, but overall, newer books have left a lot to be desired. Time for the Thai BL tangent, but also a rant. I know what you're thinking. This is a book channel. Why are we talking about Thai BL shows? And that's where I found out this is actually a channel about stories, not books, and great stories come in any format, though it will mostly be about books. But also, if people count reading only dialogue as reading the book, I am counting all the subtitles that I had to read as reading too. I'm joking, please don't come for my throat. Speaking of my throat, it's bursting right now in so much pain. Anyway, I enjoyed the Japanese adaptation of my love mix-up manga better, but I enjoyed the main actors in the Thai BL a lot too. and kept hearing people talking about my school principal and how great they were in it. At first, I was fearful because the synopsis made it sound like a bully romance, and apparently, the novel it is based on is more in line with that and every fear I had. But this was such a cute, sweet, feel good musical comfort show, and it made me laugh so much, just cracking up like a hyena. It is about a group of high school kids in a music club that have a band with a very bad reputation trying to save it from being disbanded by winning this big competition at the end of the year. The main romance is with the band leader and the school president that is in love with him and trying to secretly help save the club while everyone thinks he is trying to shut it down. It really filled my heart in a way that most books this year didn't, enjoying my other comfort shows, which are Cutie on Ice, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Galavant, and Corazón Salvaje. But what really made the insanity hit me was the side couple. The character of Sound is introduced as a really good guitarist, a racing star that gets transferred to the school. At first, he thinks the band is bullying him, then that they are a bunch of losers trying to use him, but he joins because he hates the school president and takes over the band and is very awful to everyone until the band rebels. Then he gives the band leader his spot back but keeps playing with them and becomes good friends. A lot of his arc happens in the background, but it had a lot of tropes I like found family and enemies to lovers, and the actor was just giving me so much in terms of facial and eye expression. I just wish he had gotten more screen time. Now, to the enemies to lovers of it all, their interactions are magic, I swear. Whenever they are in a bathroom together, I have a good time. And something I really like here that I also did in my love mix-up was that one character falls first and the other character, though they may not feel the same way yet, knows that they are feeling enough to give them a chance and end up falling too. Though in this case it happened in the background. So what I'm getting at is if anyone has any book recommendations with this dynamic, please send them my way. I eat it up. I love discovering something new about my tastes and also explains what I've always been bothered by the love interest falling first trope. I want them to fall after. I enjoy a little pining. Now, onto the reference portion of this BL talk. So, after enjoying the side couple so much in My School President, I proceeded to watch everything they are a couple in, which included That Summer, which should be finished by the time this goes live. It's about a young man that gets sent to his uncle to work and fix his behavior and finds an amnesiac prince washed up on the beach. As I mentioned in my probably yet unreleased video, I like amnesia stories. I thought it was well done here, not realistically, but it has a bit of a fairy tale vibe. It is very comforting. I also like the trope of the class difference and the higher class one living with the lower class one. I dislike billionaire romance or ones where people get pulled into the upper class like Cinderella. So again, if you have some books with this trope, send them my way. Anyway, they had some underwater scenes and I almost lost my mind because when I was doing the art piece for the underwater rescue from In Deeper Waters, I struggled so much to find references. I was so desperate and yet we have all these shots here. But then I thought, it's okay. This wasn't released at the time. There's no need to flip a table, girl. And then I found out that the underwater kisses are very common in BL to the point people find them overdone. And that I struggled so much to find another reference when it was there all along in either Thai BL or BL in general. I almost lost my mind. Looking at it now, I think I did a somewhat decent job. But if you're having my same struggle, you can find references in BL. I wish I could travel back in time and tell myself this. This channel is in a very poor state. I will honestly be surprised if someone reaches this point in the video since I don't have great retention. If I were more constant, I might be better at it, but this is a hobby channel. At the time of writing, I have 4 subs and most of them came here after I uploaded the art shorts and one is someone I know. 15-second shorts do better, they are all time lapses. I would probably be doing better numbers if I was a dedicated art channel. Too bad I like books, I guess. I got most of my stats in May, which is the month I uploaded weekly. It was 5 consecutive weeks, and being constant did get me more impressions, so I noticed YouTube was recommending my videos in lots of weird places. I did notice it was on videos with other animated avatars or for children, which I was confused about, and it was no wonder why people were leaving fast since the content was widely different. I returned the library to my thumbnail at the end of May in an attempt to look more like a booktuber, and it did have less clicks but better retention. But I don't know if it was related to that. In the foreseeable future, the library stays in the background of my thumbnails. I could have probably done better if I had stayed on a constant or a video every 2 weeks from then on as I planned, but I read a book so bad it put me in a slump for months and then I almost died. And then life's responsibilities piled up, and then I binge watched all that VL. I hope I can be more constant this following year, maybe reach 10 subscribers, and carve my little hole in book content that also has art in it. I have been curious because of the almost dying thing and life getting in the way. Will it be okay to occasionally have videos with me in person or with other footage? I will not like it, but sometimes I just want to talk about the book and not put all that other work into it. The downside will be the massive edits being more noticeable and that I have a naturally creepy presence that scares people. As I've said, I really enjoy doing mermaid on this channel. I hope I can continue next year. But I also wanted to do things for Christmas, unicorns, magos, Halloween, and history months that I had to scrap this year. I hope I can get on top of things and at least do a little more this coming 2026. There were also some videos that had to get scrapped at the beginning of the year because I recorded and re-recorded but my voice just wasn't there. There are also scripts that I finished and just left there and forgot to pick them up because I was so overwhelmed by the following books. Need to get better at the organization. Tips are welcome. Some of those things I hope we get to see in 2026, but I also want to review a beloved book series that when I last checked my notes, it was 12 speaking hours. My scripts are usually 3 or more times longer than my notes. At this point, it will be the length of the audiobooks combined. I can't imagine talking for what is essentially days. My throat will collapse. So, something really funny about all this, every single time I post a video, I hate everything about it. But it doesn't matter because it's my last video and then I'm quitting. And then after a week, I start to miss it and write the next script and plan the art piece and make the next video. And then when I post it, I hate it and quit. And by the next week, I'm at it again. It's really good for stress relief and I like listening to myself. I rewatched my stuff the other day and actually found it relaxing. I have a love-hate relationship with content creation. After this video, I'm quitting. See you next week when I'm back with another video. Just kidding, I'm never doing weekly videos again. Every 2 weeks at most, unless it is an event month. That was all for today and this year. I hope your 2026 is full of amazing reads and take care of yourselves and have a great day. Bye!